The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Return the Jewels. Also, there's explicit language. Hey everyone, welcome to our 19th episode of Return the Jewels. Um, it is, we just made it to February. So, this episode, the interview you're about to see, I actually recorded in like November with my friend Hassan. You'll see we get into the whole name issue. He doesn't want you to know his last name or his first name, really. He's like kind of like Madonna, kind of. So my friend Haas, he's got a podcast called My First Kicks, and we talk about it. Um, Passion project of his, and he's been doing it now. It's relatively new in its infancy, still, just like this podcast. Uh, but he's really taken to it and running with it, and he's got a day job which is like a really big one. He's like in digital advertising. And he explains what he does in the interview. You'll get into it. We talked about a lot of things about like got into like the name ambiguity, digital media. Talked about imposter syndrome and his podcast. He had a couple of name drops in there. Um, One thing about this interview that I think is interesting is we recorded this in November, but we started to talk about stochastic terrorism. And, in light of like what's going on right now with in this country and all, it's kind of surprisingly very topical, even though 3 months stale in terms of recording. So, check that out. And then also, we added appropriation appreciation segment. We did sneakers because his thing is, it's my first kicks, which is his podcast. But the big thing in this interview that I want people to really like, that I think the value that people will find is, I asked Haas how he got his job or how you can, how does one go about working where they want to work? What are the steps to do it? He actually gave a very thorough breakdown and a lot of insight that I don't think you'd see many other. Well, you'd probably see the same kind of insight, but it's unique to him, the insight, because he's talking about his experiences, and it's very like, it's informative and good. And I really don't have much more to say in this intro. Uh, at Who is Haas, you'll see on the thing his Instagram podcast is called My First Kick, My First Kicks. He's a friend. We're in the same community. We have a lot of mutual friends. We're friends now for a little bit. So, always enjoy talking to him. Always enjoy seeing him. So this is a good one. This was a fun, lighthearted, informative, heady, and still kind of on brand episode. So enjoy. Hey everyone, today we're here with Hassan, or I guess I know you as Haas. Ha- actually, I've known you for like more than 2 years, and I don't even know your last name.
I don't even I didn't even think you knew me for more than 2 years, but I
That's
don't.
real.
Yeah, I mean that's good. That's good that you know me for 2 years.
I double checked.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I go by Haas or Hassan. I really don't like my last name being out there. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay. That's smart, man. I should never have told anybody outside my family my last name growing up. I don't know why I ever did.
I just don't want people Googling me. Like if you're gonna like try to find something about me or something like that, it would have to be under this name, Haas or Hassan.
Right, and
You would have to put in that work.
there's already enough famous Hassans to cover you in Google.
Yeah, exactly. There's probably like 600 in Bollywood. I mean, and then
Is that racist?
I know. I mean, it's an Indian name, or it's from the Middle
Yeah.
East, and
Well,
then
I mean, in production in Bollywood for sure.
oh yeah, for sure. But
Yeah,
like yeah, I mean, and then you
in
also have
Bollywood it's all the same last names because they're all part of the same extended families.
yeah, exactly. They're all cousins.
Uh,
They just got their own
Lots of
productions.
generational nepotism. Um, but it's acting, so who knows what merit really is when it comes to a very subjective form of art.
Yes, very subjective.
Yeah, a little bit. Not to shit on the, but so Haas
Yes,
and Hassan.
right.
Uh, when did you change it to Haas, or when did you start being like, hey, call me Haas?
So I have two first names.
Okay,
And
do we get
no,
to know
we're
what
not get
what
you're
the
not
other
gonna
names
get the
are?
other first name unless you unless you
I've known you for more than 2 years, and I don't know your
know.
last name, or
Yeah,
your
then
I
you're
guess
not
your third, or your second, or your third name.
I have a lot of names, but yes, so my friends would when I told them, "Yeah, my name's Hassan," people would just be like, "Oh, so you're Haas," and then just be like, "Yeah," they would just call me Haas, and so all
Which
my friends
friends? How old?
this is like growing up, like 5. I was like 5, my first friend called me Haas.
And you just stuck with it since.
Yeah.
You never had like a crisis of identity to like go back and be like, no, I want to be a son again. I'm not gonna
No,
listen to
because
my
of my
5 year
crisis.
old friend.
No. My crisis of identity was trying to get people to stop calling me from my first name and start using my first second name as my first name.
What? Wait, hold
Yeah.
up.
I have 2 first names, right? So you got first, and then you
Okay,
have first, second.
okay,
And I've always want people to call me by my first, second name.
which is Hassan. So
Yes.
there's a whole first name, which is like the primary thing that is just a secret to
It's
everybody
not a
out
secret. It's on my paychecks. So if you're gonna pay me,
there.
you get to know that name.
So I gotta work with you. I gotta work with you to get the secret.
I mean, it's not a secret. Once you hear people like if you come with me to like a doctor's appointment and you're like, wait, they'd be like, they will call that name. They won't call Hassan.
Could you tell me off screen, or
Yeah.
maybe, and we'll reveal it to our Patreon subscribers when they subscribe.
No, no. $10 tier, you get to know my first name.
You get to know Hassan's first name, and then the $20 tier, you get to know his first third name.
If I wish I had my first third name too. Jesus.
I don't know if you do, man. You
No,
could be
I
playing
don't.
coy.
I don't. I don't. It was hard enough to get people to call me from my first second name. My first name, that's the second one. The
You've
first
already
second
lost
name.
me. Can I ask? Can I ask where you work?
Yeah. I
Okay,
work at an ad agency.
okay, and we talked about this earlier, but like,
Yes.
aside from being coy, what do you do in an
I
ad agency?
I am a creative asset manager at an ad agency.
What does that even mean?
I mean, it just means I get at like so I work strictly with digital advertising,
Okay,
right? And so when you go to a website, those banners that come up, that's your boy. I get that done. I get that. I make sure the people, the team that we're working with on the other side, the the brand side,
yeah.
is creating those banners correctly, and then my team makes sure that everybody who is a part of that audience gets to see it.
Do you do you have any sort of discretionary control over the amount of aggressiveness that those things pop up with, or like
I mean,
aggressiveness with how people are targeted?
the team does, but it's also I think it's definitely 100% Google's part. Like
Yeah.
Google has a way they segment their audiences or whatever. But like I don't know much of this. Like I didn't study marketing. I just fell into this job and
How'd
it's been
you
treating me really well.
actually no, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Let's so you
But hold on, wait. So I think so. I think the way, and this is my understanding from being on this side of this of like handling it. It's a lot about how Google puts people into specific audiences, and then you can be in an audience like 6 times. So like so say you'll be like, okay, these are my core values of when I look online. I like sneakers, I like hype clothing, I like I like, trying to think, action movies, and I like these are all not me, but not generally me.
Really?
All right, it is me. And I like hip
For
hop music,
everyone
right?
watching, Hassan has a podcast called My First Kicks, which is about
Yes.
sneakers, fashion, and I believe also
No.
sometimes entertainment.
No, it's not. It's just about sneakers. It's about sneaker stories
Okay.
and how sneakers affected people as they grew up.
I was just trying
But
to make
so
a connection.
yes, I know. And then so say if you're in all four and
Mhm.
the ads that are being specifically put out are targeting all four of those audiences, you're gonna get hit with those ads 4 times.
So how do you account for people getting upset with your brand because they got hit with the same ad more than once?
That's not my department. So I can't tell you. I like I said, I'm
Okay.
just a creative asset manager. That's it.
I guess it's all on Google too. Do you how much of your time and day or responsibility, I guess, is it learning like Google metrics and analytics and that kind of stuff?
0.
Really?
Yeah, that's not my job. Again, I'm just part of just like the only thing I need to learn is mostly what my job revolves around. So like I need to learn how, I guess, if like a linear, you know what I mean, like a just like how specific sites need to like what specs do they need in order to run the graphics that they want to put, like the banners that they want to put, or like say if like they want to take over a page, I need to learn like how to like put that together and help the other team that is putting creating the graphics to put it together, and that's it.
So
That's
a lot
where
of format,
lots of format.
lots of just for and a cursory enough knowledge for how things should look, but not necessarily having to delve into why they should look.
Why they should go? Yes.
Okay. That
I,
reminds me of this. There's this GQ article like
hmm
maybe a year ago about Andre 3000 just catching up with him in Brooklyn, and
hmm
he was talking about how everything he learned musical instrument wise was just enough to play the notes on the song.
Yeah.
And he didn't learn anything more, and that's like his big insecurity is not really knowing how to play those instruments that he's perceived as knowing as being a master of.
Well, I mean, he's one of the best rappers ever, though.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
like,
he's totally
yeah,
downplaying a lot of shit in that interview. But
yeah.
no, I always thought that
But
kind of
learning enough to skate by is probably the motto of my life. So
I don't think you're alone. I don't think
no,
you're
I think
alone.
that's what I think all millennials do that.
And
So
I think
yeah.
it's like a shift for millennials in age. Like there's a very distinct bifurcation or whatever,
hmm
where it's like, oh, there's so much that I don't know that I will need to know, so I cannot do. And then after a certain shift, it's just like, everyone's got imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and so it's like I just got to do enough, and then not let people know that I don't know.
I mean,
No,
when growing up, I think what I kept telling, when I took I was a lead at a candy store, right? And so
what
like
does that mean?
I was like a supervisor or something. I don't know. They
Yeah,
lead is like they have different levels. I was in charge of people,
like one of
and I
those
was getting
places in the mall with all the candy in like clear boxes that all the kids stick their hands in.
yes, but I was at the famous one that's on uh, 50th, 60th Street, 60th Street.
I don't even know what that
I
was.
worked at Dylan's Candy Bar for
Oh,
all your listeners out there, and
you
so
don't work there now, so you can talk about it.
yeah, yeah, it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. But like I kept like my how I would break stuff down to people and be like, okay, this guy, like if you'd be like, oh, give me like a performance review of this person, I'd be like, this person is a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I just do that for everybody because nobody could ever be like, okay, I'm gonna be good at this, I'm gonna be good at this. And then, and then we could just work together and then everybody fills in the gaps, right?
How old were you?
20. I worked there for 6 years. So I worked there when I was like 20 to 26, maybe. I don't know.
So so going in at 20, I bet you didn't
19. I want to say
you
19. I got
okay,
out of there
so going
25.
in at 19, I guess you did not view your peers as being so ill-equipped as you ended up realizing they were for the things that they were hyping themselves as being able to do. So like
Yeah.
having that realization that people are jacks of all trades as opposed to masters of them. How long did it take for that?
I
Over the
think
course.
it was more of definitely like noticing that same quality in me because I could do a ton of stuff. Like I used to sing, I used to like rap, I would,
Oh, that's great. We got a segment where we ask you to
oh
rap.
yeah.
No, no.
Cool, cool. I'll spit a high five. But 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 like I guess the way we grew up, it was just like we always want to try everything, so we just try it, right? And then
Yeah.
when somebody goes, "Oh, hey, can you do this?" You'd be like, "Yeah," but can you do it really well? No, like people. I know people who would be like, "Yeah, I can juggle," but then I can't when you throw them. But can you juggle four balls, or can you can I throw the ball to you? They'd be like, no, but I can get it up and keep it up.
Are you aware of the Kruger-Dunning effect?
No.
Okay, so I probably talk about this in other episodes, and I talk about it in conversation all the time. But like, it's like a curve, a parabola, where at the beginning of it you have high confidence and low
Hmm.
knowledge of a specific thing,
Hmm.
and therefore you have high confidence because you don't know what you don't know, and then as you learn more, your confidence lowers as your knowledge increases, because you know that there's a lot that you don't know, and then as you learn more, your confidence slowly increases back up because you're learning more things that you didn't know, and now you feel comfortable in being able to learn what you don't know. And
Hmm.
so because the reason I say that is one of those hard realizations that like I feel like every human has, but it really depends on the age. And so
Right.
if at an early age, knowing that you're a jack of all trades or that but you're not necessarily good enough at something, that requires being further along on the curve.
I
So
get, yeah.
so I wonder if that is a pattern with minorities or first generation people in America where it's like you have to kind of downplay stuff or
Hmm.
think that you're less than. So like the imposter syndrome is a lot more potent than it would be, say, if you grew up privileged, um, not necessarily monetarily privileged, but
Right. But like you
socially.
have, yeah, you have lots of friends. You get,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You're a certain complexion.
Right. And then
right,
you the cops let you go
right,
whenever.
right. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
okay. Saying all that to say, so
Right.
when you approach different tasks and learning different things,
Hmm.
right? do you do you approach them with a, oh man, I'm gonna have to learn every single thing about this before I can say I'm a person that does this? Or do you approach them with, hey, I'm doing this, so I'm doing this?
Neither of those
Really?
options. Yeah. I approach this with I'm gonna figure this out. And that's it.
No matter how much time?
Yeah. That's how I've always been.
How do you put like deadlines on yourself or arbitrary deadlines
Now
on yourself?
that's what I'm the worst at.
Okay.
I I am I mean, I have time management when it comes to jobs, like
Right.
actually working, but if I was to like that's why it took me 2 years to put together my podcast.
Oh,
So I and also just like anything that I've worked on, like graphic wise, because I taught myself how to do graphic design. I built websites, like I've done all that stuff, but I built them on my time. And I'm like the worst with doing what I actually want to do with. I'm the worst with actually with what I want to do. And then
Yeah.
like, but if I'm already being paid for something, I already know like, all right, I just got to do this, and then figure that out after.
There's definitely a hint of believing in everyone else but yourself.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Especially because like I'll bring up a situation like so I guess we can do the start of my podcast, right? So
Yeah.
I was supposed to start it with
So,
Will
by the
Myers.
way, I know I mentioned it earlier. It's called My First Kicks, and
Yes.
it's you get a story with entertainers or whoever, but entertaining people generally that give you a story about their first sneakers. Sorry, continue.
One day you'll listen to an episode. The so I I brought up this I brought up this idea to a couple friends, and I was just like, what would be a great idea for a podcast is I if somebody would just like interview somebody, and you could ask them what's that first pair of kicks you absolutely needed to have, because everybody has that story. It doesn't matter. It could be a freaking Birkenstock sandal. Like you like that's a story still, like
Yeah,
somebody has a story for every single pair, or like any pair in their entire life. Nobody's gonna not have a story. And so I told this idea to a couple friends, and they're like, yo, this is a great idea. So I sat on it, and then one day I was hanging out with Gastor Amante. Shout out to Gastor Amante. And I
great,
was just
great.
like, he's an amazing guy. And so I was hanging out with him, and he was just like, yo, he was just like, I wish I could do a Gastor impression right now, but he's like, yo, fam, uh, what are you working on? And I was just like, I have this idea for a podcast. And then he goes, and I'm telling him the idea. He's like, yo, fam, that is fire, man. And then I was just like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna start it. He goes, yo, if you don't start it, I'm gonna start it myself. And then he
Damn,
never he never started it. So he's like,
but
so
he would have
he
crushed
probably, yeah, he would have crushed
it.
it too. Yeah, he would have stole it. That was
He would have gotten that on a network quick.
it. And so he never started it. But every time we met up, he'd always be like, "Yo, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast?" He was always telling me that. So when quarantine was about to hit, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna start this. Like I'm just like I was like, I 100% this year. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna actually do it. I'm gonna do it. And this is 2 years after I spoke to Gastor about this, right? And then I remember hitting up a couple of my friends and being like, I need a host. I need a co-host with me. I
Yeah,
can't do this by myself, right? And then I hit up Real Miles when Miles was down. And then life stuff happens, and I was waiting. I was just like, you know what, like what pushed me, what in myself pushed me was because I kept pushing him to do an episode, and I was like, okay, I can't wait anymore. And then because I couldn't wait for him is why as it took until I couldn't wait for him to me to do to start the podcast.
yeah, dude. It is all yeah. No, that's always tough. Workflow, time management, and all that stuff, especially if it's a passion project,
Yeah.
is so much more difficult than if you're in like a corporate environment or something. Just
Yeah.
because there's always that extra element of like, damn, my time is not really respected as much
Yeah.
as I respect the people's time I'm expecting reciprocation from.
Hmm.
And that always kind of hurts.
Well, I mean, corporate world is just like, you working on their time, so they're paying you per hour, and they see you got to officially put out whatever your job is during that time frame, during that 9 to 5, during that 10 to 6. You know what I mean? So not being able to do that, I mean, being able to do that and also your passion project on the side is tremendously hard. I remember trying to do
Yeah.
like, yeah, I remember trying to do like random stuff. Like I was also doing posters for comedians, and I'd be like, yo, what do you need? And then I would work,
I
and I'd
need
be so
everything from all at once. That's what I need.
I would work, and then I'd come home and I'd be like, I really don't want to sit in front of this computer to freaking put together a poster. And it got to a point where I would just keep, because I am 100% a procrastinator.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's what's gonna get me more than actually doing the work, you know?
Yeah.
So
Workflow.
yeah, I mean,
Dude, even today, I had to sit in the dark for like 2 hours. Yeah, I napped a little bit, sure, but I had to be in the dark for 2 hours just because like my right eye was hurting from doing so much editing and staring at the different screens for like hours.
that's not good. You should
It's not
probably get
good.
that checked
It's,
out.
um, yeah, yeah. Um, we don't talk about healthcare yet on this show,
Okay.
but
I mean, we can. Last year I did, no, 2 years ago.
yeah.
2 years ago, I like really messed up my foot playing basketball and I didn't have health insurance.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know
then
about the non health insurance part. So what happened?
I pulled a "You better man up," and I just wrapped that thing and I forced it to heal on my own, man. You get it if you when you don't have health insurance, you will figure out ways. And it's not good. It's not good because it could have been broken. Like, I'm seeing a doctor now about it now, and they're like, "Yeah, you got this bone that's in there that's just calcified, buddy." And I was just like, "Wow."
Why is there an extra bone in here, Hassan? What is that? What's that
Yo,
about?
I hurt myself, and then didn't have health insurance. What do you want me to do?
You're Wolverine, dude.
I
You
got
know what I was
yeah.
thinking about? Has there ever been a comic book issue or a Wolverine that's just like depressed and gotten kind of chubby? Because I'm thinking like Hugh Jackman could use a break,
Mhm.
but like has there been like a depressed Wolverine?
There's a depressed Wolverine, but
But he's always like still
he's always
working out.
gonna be ripped, yeah.
He's still working out. Well, he's
Logan
getting all those endorphins. I
Log
wonder what happens when he
Logan
loses.
is you watch Logan though, right?
Actually, haven't. But
Uh,
I know. Like, I think I watched like a YouTube video about it.
but there is the comic is like way more depressing
Oh,
than the movie was. So there
but
you go. Go
he
pick it up.
stays young the whole way through.
He's the yeah. That's just genetics, man. That's just X gene.
Really, Wolverine's superpower you don't hear about is that his body just burns fat all the time.
All the time. That's super metabolism for Superman.
Oh man. So you are. We talked about this before. You are Brazilian and Bengali.
Yes.
You first generation?
Yeah, I'm first generation. I remember I asked you, I had to ask you, what does that like, am I, to make
Yeah,
sure? But yes, my mom and my dad came from their respective countries,
yeah.
and I am the firstborn.
And this is mid '80s,
This is late 80s.
late '80s. Okay, late '80s. Same here. Same here. Late '80s in New York.
Yes.
Where?
Like, you want the hospital on that? You want my social
No, no,
after
no.
that
But like borough.
too?
So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Queens, and then moved to Manhattan for a little bit, and then back to Queens.
Okay, so always around very like diverse, because Queens is like the
I
melting pot.
so thinking about this, like over time, I don't think my areas were diverse.
Really.
Yeah, I just blended in.
Because you're ethnically ambiguous enough.
Yes, and I spoke Spanish
And you
and
spoke
Portuguese.
Spanish and Portuguese. Okay, and so code switching must have started happening very early on. No,
I've never code switched in my life.
no, not necessarily intentionally. A lot of
No, no, no,
people
I'm
like
just saying, like, I knew what it was, but I never had to. So, like, I'd never been in a situation where I'd be like, "Hey, I gotta talk like this," or "I gotta fix my education, like, I gotta talk more educated like this," or,
right.
like,
I
I've
feel
never
like
been in
there,
that situation. I'd just be like, "Okay, I need to speak Spanish, I just speak Spanish." You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's
yeah,
considered.
but like okay, I feel like there's these like subtle parts of it though. like subtle involuntary code switching, where it's like, if you're speaking to family, you maybe have a little bit of more ethnic twang on.
Never in
No,
my life. No.
like I have never noticed it, but other people that have heard me talking on the phone to my parents have noticed. They're like, "Oh, you kind of you kind of have an accent there." Like
that's
I
your
get that. I'm
that's
like,
your
"Oh,
impression.
yeah." That's the impression I get from people. They're like, "Oh, hey, you kind of have a love. You had a little accent there." It's like, what are you trying to say?
I
What are
mean,
you trying
at
to say,
best,
silly?
I feel like I've kept it the same. Maybe at best, I just drop
Yeah,
n bombs maybe here and there. You
yeah.
know, So I don't know if that's allowed on this podcast. So
I mean, I don't really
I
care.
both.
Like
You know what I do wonder because I grew up where I was allowed to say it, and then
right
so
in
if you
Queens.
break it down, yeah, but even in Manhattan too, and this is when Albanians were saying it. Like
Yeah.
white dudes are being like, "Yo, my nigga." I'm like, "Whoa, bro!" And I was just like, I had to step back for that one. Albanians are crazy back then, but I've thought like
Back
I've
then.
yeah, back then. I don't know about now, but I thought like I've always wanted to wonder like how do other I guess brown folk would like, how do you like, are you a person that says
No,
it?
but there are like brown comedians that try to slip it in a conversation when there are
Mhm.
no other black people around.
Oh, snap. Name them. Let's hear it. Hassan Minaj.
First, tell me your last name first.
My last name is Minaj. I'm actually really him.
So then you're the one. You're the friend.
Watch my show, Patriot Act on Netflix now.
Oh man. No. You ever get you ever get that? You must have get that a lot lately. Like, oh, like Hassan Minaj.
Never
Oh,
got that.
really? No.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind
Yeah.
that.
Maybe once, I think. I think maybe once. But it was like another comedian. Oh, I when my buddy Ryan Sickler, I whenever he comes to Baltimore,
Yeah.
where like I go and I do his merch table and stuff, we hang out after and he had this he was like calling me and he one time he was just like, "Yo, Hassan." And I was just like, "What's up?" And he was just like, "Hassan, like Hassan Minaj." And I was just like, "What? Why?"
All right. I think it's Hassan,
It is.
right?
Yeah, it's
Is
Hassan.
yours Hassan?
Mm-mm. I mean,
It's
my dad
Hassan.
never called me Hassan,
So,
but he
what do you
also
think?
has one S, and I have two.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could have done research into like the name itself. Uh, but like, what do you think? What is the difference there? Why?
I think
Why the difference of
I think one's like
emphasis?
legit Hindi,
Yeah.
and then mine is Bengali.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that's the only explanation I have because if my dad who was the Bengali who is the Bengali side of me is
Right.
calling me Hassan and he's not
Right.
calling me Hassan, then I mean I don't understand why I don't understand the difference, but I do see that like all right, he has one S, so maybe it is Hassan because
Yeah, but I mean, originally they're not Roman letters or Roman script, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, like,
Right.
so it's just like I don't, and I mean I don't know, and I'm sure just because the way like all of that is everything the dialect. There's like a million different dialectal differences, anyways, between languages and cultures and
Right.
stuff. Because there's a lot of subtleties in brown, but
Light
I don't
brown.
know. Yeah, I don't really know that. I know that we talk on this podcast sometimes about like anglicizing our last names
Mhm.
to say to people. So like I talked about it with Natalie or Natalie
Mhm.
Aukar. She anyway, whatever. She used to introduce herself as Aukar,
Yeah.
right? Because it was closer to how it was pronounced, but like having to anglicize something to make it more palatable. And then the fact that I don't know for sure if Hassan Minaj it's Hassan or Hassan, but I hear both a lot.
Mhm.
And I wonder if it's one of those things. It's like to make it more palatable or easier to say, right? Or like, hey, I'm just not going to correct you. Like, how often do you get Hassan or if I say Haas or Haas or Haas, like, what am
Mhm.
I? How should I say it? You know?
I unless you're saying it like it doesn't make any sense, I really don't really like I really
No,
don't
I
put
know, like, I
any.
know you're cool and coy and all that, but
No, 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 I
I
mean
am
in general
wondering. Yeah,
because eh, like my the way I guess the way I treat people is just like, all right, unless I like I'm gonna see you again,
yeah.
then maybe I'll fix like I'll be like, okay, it's Hassan, like or Haas or like that. But if I know I'm not gonna see you after this, I'm gonna be like, yeah, whatever, just bye.
Yo, I do that too, like not that specifically, but like sometimes you know, because before quarantine you're meeting so many people all the time and you're
Right.
doing things, and so I'd meet people that I would just automatically make a judgment. It's like, yeah, I'm not really gonna see this person or hang out with this person again. I introduce myself as Larry or Rob because it's
I
like,
mean, you look like a
just,
Larry.
yeah, but I mean, saying love always necessitates a follow up,
Yeah, like you for
and
real?
it's annoying. Oh, love,
You
like
love me?
love, like, it's just like, ah, it's like you guys have all heard all the craziest names, just like and like Larry's a go-to. Larry's so
Larry.
like, hey, yo, I'm Larry. And then like sometimes the friends I'm with, they understand and they'll just kind of snicker when they
Hmm.
see me introduce myself as Larry or something. It's just like, yeah, love's not. Love is not invested in this interaction.
Love is not the love language right now.
No, love is so full of hate sometimes.
Oh my god.
Frustration. Frustration more than hate.
I
But
mean, I mean, I don't know. I think well, obviously I've been in the two name situation. So
yeah,
for me it's like I want you to call me Hassan or Haas. Like
right.
and it's all about telling people that. And I guess growing up that was my big thing. Like I was fucking frustrated all the time and just being like, stop calling me that, stop calling me that.
So I'll
And
call you what?
no, I'm not saying it. Stop calling me love. So
That's your first name, dude. Oh man.
but I think like I don't know. It was weird. All right, so I mean, I guess a little bit about me on that situation would be like, I guess, it was part of me and my dad have the same first name, right? He also has his first second name
yeah.
as well. So
Okay.
when
And the same last name. I'm assuming.
obviously
Yeah. So we don't know those.
no, and so like when my mom and my dad got a divorce,
Yeah.
like obviously teenage angst, you got like all this like, oh, my dad's not gonna be
You got a
there.
whole extra name to juggle.
Yeah, and now my name is the same as his name, so I've wanted people to stop calling me by that name. Especially, but like it also started because nobody was calling me that in the house. So like why am I being called this at school?
Mm.
And why do I have two first names?
And you're
Like
being
that
called
was, that
Hassan at
was
home.
yeah, but I'm being
Right.
called Hassan at home, so people should be calling me Hassan everywhere.
Yeah. No, I have a nickname at home, and
And
you
it's
guys
called
don't get that. You don't get
Brooklyn
the
Santa.
no. It's not Brooklyn Santa. I have a nickname at home that I grew up with that all my cousins called me by, and I would always hate it when like one of my cousin's friends or any one of my friends or whatever would find out what the name is. They would never let it go, and
Hyman.
no, it wasn't Hyman.
Oh
I actually knew a guy with the last name Hyman in law school,
man.
but no, like they would never let it go until we eventually just drifted apart. Like me from my cousin's friends, or me
Yeah.
from my friends that would know my name. And so like I'm like a real brown Rumpelstiltskin.
So somebody figures out that nickname.
Get me out of your life, figure
Mhm.
out. But yeah. So okay, so the podcast is about sneakers or whatever your first. It's really it's
Do
about
you
the
want me to give you the
emotional. No, 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 no,
elevator
no.
pitch for
I'm
this?
trying
Because
to
I feel
set
like
something up, dog. I'm setting something up, yo. Okay, let's start again. So the podcast is about sneakers or like the emotional element involved with, your first shoe purchases. So it's like really more tapping into the culture of footwear and fashion and that kind of stuff and how it's affected how people have grown up, different
Mhm,
uh, veins of nostalgia and all. And so when thinking about that kind of thing, like for me, uh, I never really grew up around as many sneakerheads as I am around now.
mhm.
So I'm a complete outsider to the culture, right? But it's crazy sometimes to think how salient an issue it is for so many people to get like the newest drop or to like for me it's like the same thing as like playing fantasy football,
Mhm.
looking up all the different statistics and different this season of this or whatever, but obviously there's a lot more there that goes into like there's emotion, there's shared emotion tied into each one of these drops or designs. um but that all being said, why focus on sneakers or shoes?
Imagine if I didn't have an answer to this. That'd be amazing.
Well,
Uh,
I mean,
I think
we're discovering the answer here.
no, I've always had an answer for this.
Yeah,
I think that every shoe. I think well, growing up, like I didn't get the chance to buy the sneakers that I've wanted when I grew up, you know? So it was that chance when I got my first check and I was like, you know what? I'm buying a pair of kicks. Like I've been trying to get these, like I've been trying to like be current, but I had to settle with like picking video games or picking sneakers
right.
or, picking, like I'd always had to pick one or the other growing up because, I didn't grow up in a rich family. Like my mom was working and that was it. It was just me and my mom. So, when I finally started working, I was like, all right, now it's time to catch up. So at one point, I was getting new kicks like every single check. So like that, but it's like built up. Like you all these years of just being like, yo, these Jordans came out and just watching all the kids have it. Like, because where when I grew up and where I went to middle school in uh a rich neighborhood and all those kids were getting everything. Like
Yeah.
I was wearing swishy pants because they were the cheapest, and like I was able to get different colors. So I would go to school swishing around and stuff, and it was
You
the
couldn't sneak up on anybody.
no, couldn't sneak up on anything, couldn't talk to chicks. It was a wrap, like, I was done, going to middle school there, and but I would always just be extremely jealous of, like, "Yo, these dudes got these Jordans, they dropped," like and then used to live next to a Foot Locker, so I would just always walk into the Foot Locker, see what's going
Window
on, like, "Oh."
shopping.
Yeah, and then try to
Right.
see if I could cop anything on sale, like, look at what's on sale so I could pitch it to my mom, like, "Yo, listen, there's a pair of sneakers, $50, let me get them." She'd be like, "Oh, but you can't get this game that's coming out," like, you know what I mean? So, the that I feel like that's such a shared experience, like,
Yeah.
it's either that or you've gotten everything when you came out, like, you were one of those kids that got everything, or you were just never into sneakers in the first place, like, but at the same time it's just like it's a culture, it's the sneaker culture and the sneaker community when I was growing up what helped me and still to this day keeps me wanting to go back and like try to be up and get the newest kicks, even though there's like what you just brought up, which is just it's really hard to get sneakers now,
Yeah.
like hot ones that are like you see it and you're just like, oh, I need to have those, but yet there's dudes or people, sorry, there's people that want like who want to
Finance bro
resell that.
usually.
Yeah, but there's people that want to sell that shoe for money.
Hmm.
So you fall into another demographic of just being like, okay, do I need to just pay more money for the shoe that I wanted? You know,
So it's like sneaker culture got gentrified,
I don't think it got gentrified at all.
uh,
Uh, I think it
exploited.
expanded. Yeah, definitely 100% is and has always been exploited. Like it's exploitation at its finest. You know, like you use like it's the same with like when they first started doing these Nikes that were an artist collab. Like you get Pharrell on a Nike Dunk to put a Nike Dunk together, and
Yeah.
then you sell that, right? Which is now it's going for like $1,500. You know, like
So you
you
ever buy into that kind of? You buy into that kind of thing with your personal attachment to sneaker culture and stuff? Like, oh, new Pharrell collab, and then so I gotta get that, or no?
no, for me it's more about like the materials got to look right, the colorways got to look right, and then I'm in.
Mm.
If you understood what that meant,
I understand what material means. I'm pretty sure.
right?
Colorway, I'm assuming, is a color scheme.
Yes.
Okay, and looking right, I feel is a very subjective thing, but maybe not. Maybe there are metrics for it within sneaker culture that I'm
Uh
unaware of.
no, it's not. It's just literally just like so. Say if you have an all suede sneaker,
Mhm.
right? But it can't just be like any color on that suede. Like those different suede panels on the shoe needs to be something that's gonna blend in together, and then you can just wear that out. So that's looking right.
Okay, I will understand this someday. I really will. Like, but I say, but it's good that you mentioned Pharrell because that brings me to our first segment.
Mhm.
Appropriation or appreciation.
And in this segment, what we do is we find like a case study and we ask the guests to make a judgment on whether or not it's appropriation or appreciation, or if the dichotomy that I'm framing or creating is false in itself, if there's no such thing, or if the two aren't mutually exclusive. So we actually have two this time because I know that the because of sneaker stuff.
Right.
So two sneaker case studies. The first was this collaboration, I think, done by Pharrell with Adidas, and it was called the NMDHU or Who Silhouette. You know what I'm
Yes.
talking about? Okay, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm looking. I'm just reading it.
And it's all good. He releases a pair out every like 3 or so months, and they
Okay.
go for crazy money.
Yeah, yeah. These were like $350, but he did one with Chanel the
Hmm.
year before that went for like 10 grand on the resale market.
Yep.
Wow.
The man, I guess he figured it out. But yeah, that Human series or Hue series is something that he puts more. I feel like it's extremely positive because he always all the messaging on it is has always been forward thinking
Yeah.
versus some shoe that just has some color on it. And he's trying to make some money.
So the line that I'm talking about specifically, and
Hmm.
I'll put a picture up, because you've seen them already, is the Holi, HOLI, which is
Right.
a Hindu thing, inspired sneaker ones, and it's the festival of colors, and every time you see something like Slumdog Millionaire or whatever, all the colors in India, there's always like a lot of Holi with the powdered colors, they
Hmm.
bring them around and stuff. We showed a Coldplay video in the last episode, where that was like the feature. But so
It's pretty crazy.
holy inspired, holy inspired sneakers caused a little bit of a backlash because they he wasn't providing full context, or maybe people weren't too uh, able to tell if he really knew what he was doing, or he
Hmm.
like appreciated the significance of the reference. but I think what he did was he released it in India, like I think exclusively 2 weeks before
Hmm.
the full release. So
And he was at an actual holy.
yeah, yeah, he was at a holy, and I think one of the things it says is just like there was a video of someone explaining the significance to holy, and he just looked indifferent. So that was like that was kind of upsetting
I
to a
mean, I
lot of
think he
people.
looks indifferent in general.
Right. I mean, I think
Clearly.
that's how looking indifferent is how you look young. You know.
Yeah, exactly. No stress on the face, and then you'll forever look young. I mean, that's a true thing. If you don't put any stress, or like don't if you don't have any stress, like your face will never like get those
Like get there,
wrinkles.
yeah.
Like
So
that. Yeah,
Pharrell's skin regimen is no
lots of
stress
moisturizer
and
and no
cold
stress.
water.
Cold water.
Cold water, no stress. Um. So yeah, what is that? Appropriation or appreciation?
I think it's appreciation only because he actually he was been like before the shoe came out, he went to a holy,
Right.
which is what I was like saying. And I think that, you know, he put what the show, like what the show, what the shoe, what he experienced at the Holy on the shoe.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was a connection between it. And it's obviously inspired because he
Right.
didn't even stop there. He actually released more holy shoes,
Okay.
other forms. Like he has the Hue series, obviously, but then he also has like other NMDs that are like, which is the model that they put out on Adidas, and they're without the wording on it, because I
Right.
the one that you're specifically looking for, the one that you're specifically looking at, he has, I don't it's I couldn't read it, but it's a Hindi symbol on the top of the left shoe or something like that,
Right.
right?
It's in like Devanagari.
I don't know what that
Right.
means, man.
I read it.
But which is very interesting. I think he he's definitely a people. He's definitely a person of the people. So he. I feel like just because he calls it the human series, he's trying to represent everybody. He put during the Colin Kaepernick stuff, he put out the equality shoe out to help put awareness on unarmed black men being killed. Like then he also put out a couple pairs were just like love, like you just like it's all about
Oh,
positive.
the LUV ones.
No, not the LUV ones. That's later. That's when you get your signature series.
Yo, Pharrell, you need to send me an LUV sneaker. He's got those, right? Yeah,
Yes, he
okay.
got
So
the.
I'm not making those. Okay, yeah.
No, no, no. He doesn't have those.
I remember. Oh,
He has the one with the LOVE.
oh. I feel like somebody sent me an article one time a while ago with like LUV sneakers, and they were like
Louis
they're pretty
Vuittons.
expensive.
Louis probably Louis Vuittons. Maybe. But I think like he is a person that is trying to push culture, not push cultures on people, but represent cultures so that everybody can get a
Yeah,
taste of it.
I think part of it is like, is there enough here for you to do a subsequent Google search and find out the context for yourself? You know,
Right.
like he could stop that subsequent inquiry by being like, "Hey, man, this is just something I thought of out of my head.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
He
I
could have.
came up with all of this."
Yeah. I mean, that's it, which, we've seen that people do that from
Yeah,
time to time. So I think being forward thinking and just like telling people, like, or showing people what another person's culture is on a sneaker is pretty admirable.
now, so okay, so we got appreciation as a judgment. Sure, I agree with you.
Hmm.
The other example,
Yeah.
woo. So this was called it was another Adidas shoe,
Hmm.
designed by Jeremy Scott, and it was the Roundhouse Mid. Um, it was just called the Roundhouse Mid, or
I don't remember the name of him.
the I guess what they called it was the Roundhouse Mid Handcuffs by
Hmm.
Jeremy Scott, and I'll put up a picture of these shoes. So, what do you think of that?
That is, what was the two, appreciation and what?
Appropriation or
Appropriation?
appreciation?
Uh, I it's got to be 100%. I don't think, but what is he appropriating? Like, I just think it's just blatantly fucked up.
I mean, it's like Live Strong bracelets on a Live Strong chain over shoes to go around your ankles. Like,
No, 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 no. I think like, so this shoe is a shoe that was coming out when I was in high school, and it just stuck with me. Like, one, because it was so ridiculous, I needed to have it. And then when they got banned
yeah.
because of its racial context, it was
So
just
go
like,
go ahead and elaborate the racial context for people who don't obviously see it, and people that may be listening on audio. Look it up. It's called the Adidas Jeremy Scott Roundhouse Mid Handcuffs.
hmm. So these shoes are just some, they look like basketball Adidas's, but on the back of the shoe, you get chains, and the chains link to a handcuff, and the handcuffs go onto your calves,
The shackles.
your shackles, and that is a direct correlation to slavery.
No, you say that, but let me
You
read
said no?
you. I said no. I said now.
Oh,
You say that, but let me read you Adidas' statement
okay.
because they don't seem to think that. The statement by Adidas is the design of the JS Roundhouse Mid is nothing more than the designer Jeremy Scott's outrageous and unique take on fashion and has nothing to do with slavery. Jeremy Scott is renowned as a designer whose style is quirky and lighthearted, and his previous shoe designs for Adidas Originals have, for example, included panda heads and Mickey Mouse. Any suggestion that this is linked to slavery is untruthful.
No, I mean, so I'm gonna play both sides of this, right?
Okay.
I'm a I think this is just a white guy who did not realize racism was a thing, and that's how you end up with like a blackface on a Gucci shirt. Like,
How do we know that this wasn't just a white guy who was like, I'm gonna be edgy and I'm gonna reference slavery by making these ones, and then after the backlash, he was just like, nope, 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 that wasn't the inspiration. Can we find another one? Can we find another inspiration
I'm
real
gonna tell
quick,
you,
please?
this didn't stop him.
No,
Like, he's still making very expensive sneakers, but I think that
that
I
you want to
think
get.
yes. I will, if anybody has a pair of the Tiger Adidases that he put out, hit me up. Who is Haas on Instagram? Thank you. Size 13. But I think like, I don't know. I think like, I get it. There are always going to be fashion designers that are going to try to push it out there, right?
Right, I'm also size 13, by the way. If you want to send me those sneakers instead. Okay,
No.
continue.
No, they're mine. But like, I feel like designers take these, or artists or whatever, take these chances, right? And then they backtrack like a motherfucker after that when they
Oh
find out that
yeah.
when it's fun, they find out that their context is not being read correctly. And I mean, like, I've seen even comedians or like myself, like, I'll make a bad joke and I thought it'd be like, oh, this is witty, and then you'd say like, dude, that just sounds racist. And then you're like, oh, no, 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 that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Like,
What?
like,
Wait, what did you say? No, we heard you.
and so I feel like that's what this case was. I feel like he thought this was just like, I get it, he's trying to be edgy, but I don't think he was going to be like, you know what, this reminds me of slavery. I'm going to put out a shoe that reminds everybody about slavery. I just think that, it has other context. Like, you
He's
can be
probably
like,
like looking in a history book because he's like a French designer or whatever. He's probably
right.
looking in a history book. He's like, oh wow, look at slavery. This is like American history. Look at the colors and the cool and like this could really inspire my fashion and
Like,
I mean, they for a fact the French does not.
minimalist.
You know for a fact the French does not teach their kids about the American history
Oh,
or what
sure, sure,
slavery
sure. We
was.
probably looked at like a painting or something, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
what are all these
Is
black
this the
people doing
American
outside?
struggle?
Well, yeah.
But I think like he this is what I think he was trying to interpret. And this is what I interpreted it as even in high school. So the shoe or shoes at the time were always they were being super hyped up. So they were just like, shoes were going for like $600 during this time, right? And I feel like he put out that shoe as a statement of being like, you these shoes do not make you. These should not be your shackles. That's what I think he was putting it on. And then it just got turned to some racist stuff, man.
You should do PR for Adidas because that was way better than any suggestion that this is linked to slavery is untruthful. Literally, Adidas PR after getting this backlash was to gaslight.
Oh yeah,
That was the first inclination, and this
such a
was
bad
before
move.
they hired Kanye West, so they could turn out his image. But like,
Turn out his image.
I don't know, or use it. I'm sure it was a.
His image is his
I'm
image.
sure.
I
I'm
don't know.
sure after this whole thing, right, the backlash to the gaslighting, they're like, okay, who is that rapper who said George Bush doesn't care about black people?
Let's
Perhaps
get
they
him.
let's get him. He's got some designs, and he did have some designs.
Yeah, he has continues to make
He
designs.
continues to. He made that car that Homer Simpson made for his brother-in-law. He made the same one for no, never mind.
No, that's a reference that I don't
No,
remember.
sorry, never mind. Okay, we'll just cut that out. I'm not gonna cut that out because then I gotta like do a lot of extra tedious work. Uh, but okay, so appropriation or appreciation? The shackle shoe.
I 100% say it's appropriation. I mean, I think it's fucked up,
Appropriation.
but 100%. That's it.
But then, what is appropriation in that sense, in that context?
I think so. This is my pitch
Yeah,
towards why it's appropriation.
yeah.
I think it's appropriation because he's trying to dictate what the sneaker culture was at that point.
Mm,
So he's using that to make money. He's
right,
using that sneakers are going for so much money and that people were using it as their identity and making it a shoe. Like if you take all the racial stuff out, like and you look at like because like cultural appropriation, it doesn't have to be linear or a linear
right.
thought.
And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
ethnic culture; it could be sneaker culture.
It could be sneaker culture. So I think he is using the sneaker culture against itself or making it like this is like a visual representation of what shoes are now.
Yeah.
There are shackles to your feet. Like you dictate who you are because you're wearing the freshest Jordans. Like it shouldn't be about who it shouldn't be like it's like the what I like to pitch or if somebody wants if I'm trying to pitch the stories of the podcast to a non-sneakerhead person, I'd always tell them it's not about the shoe, it's always about the journey. So
Mm,
I always pinpoint like I talk about the journey to get the shoe or the journeys in the shoes.
right. This
So
is how you indicate I am appreciative of the culture that surrounds it, or I want to be a proponent of the culture.
I want to be a
So,
mainstay. And if
yeah,
anybody sees this, make me part of the sneaker culture.
of the three people that watch this, one may be an influential sneakerhead. You never know.
Well, let me
You
know.
never
And
know. Okay, so yeah, we'll go appropriation. Um, now, before we end, I wanted to talk to you about your work. Uh, More specifically about how you get or how you got your work, because part of this podcast or the aim of this podcast is for like younger people who don't necessarily know how to navigate,
navigate.
yeah, navigate the real world, after college, after grad school, whatever. And how people tend to be different, dealing with different egos or corporate environments, whatever. You have a very interesting career path, but I'll say day job or day jobs since I've known you,
Hmm.
because that's not necessarily your career path as of yet. We don't know, but your day jobs. So when I knew you were an editor for a big company, just like editing video and talking to people, all this stuff.
No.
And no, 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 not at all. Okay, yeah, I'm just. So tell me. Uh,
So when you met me, I was working at Comedy Central.
okay, so you can say that name. Okay.
Yeah. Why am I not gonna say it?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you can't. I don't want to like. You can't even say your last name. I'm just trying to
No,
like.
I mean, but it's fine. I could be like,
Okay,
yo,
so
I
yeah,
work at
you were
Comedy
working at Comedy
Central.
Central,
So I
but what
worked at Comedy
exactly were you doing? I
Central.
thought you were
I
editing.
was I was a PA at Comedy Central,
Okay.
but a PA for the multi-platform. Not like so they will use directing or like production titles in an entertainment setting, I'd guess, right? So like I worked for Comedy Central. I was a PA, but technically I was just a person that just put up the content on the website. That's all it
Oh,
did.
okay.
So it wasn't I didn't edit anything, but we worked with a video editing team. And then after that, I worked for Viacom, but the bigger brand, international, and that's where I had to learn on the job how to edit video.
Okay. Okay. So I was half right.
Yeah, half truths all
Thank
day.
you. That's all I needed. Um. So that obviously wasn't your training
Mm-mm. I
as
went to
in school.
school for print production management.
What does that even mean?
So like at like a print shop, like I
Yeah.
could tell you like, okay, this is the workflow we need to use, blah blah blah, like and like how to like if you were like, oh, I want to print like a brochure, and you're like, but I only want to spend like $400 on paper, and I'll be like, okay, I can do like equations and stuff like that to help use the right amount of paper. Like it was all bullshit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like a whole, I'm guessing, obsolete market, kind of.
I mean, printing is always going to be around.
Yeah.
How you gonna we got New York Times, like we had stuff hasn't gone fully digital yet. Like I worked for Time Magazine for a little bit, well not for a little bit. I worked for Time Magazine for a year and a half,
That's a little
and
bit.
that's a little bit. But like the it was just like magazines are always gonna be around,
Yeah, I guess that's true.
and and then until everybody has an iPad in their hand or Kindle or something like
Right.
that, it's not like
You
I
don't want
don't.
to always take your iPad to the toilet, though.
Exactly, right? You
Yeah.
wanna have, like, magazines on the table or something like that, like, those are always gonna be around. I mean, they're not selling as well as they were before,
Right.
they were the mainstays in the house, or, like, people bought subscriptions, like, subscriptions are such rare things to sell now.
Right. Yeah, I remember having to sell those as a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
All those subscription drives at school.
Mhm. So you mean the Scholastics
I mean,
book
was it
fairs?
Scholastic if we were selling subscriptions to like Newsweek and Time and shit for these companies and
Wait, you did it
exploit
in school
child
for
labor?
I've
Yeah.
never done that in school. I've only sold chocolate bars.
Yeah, even that's probably just a racket. Oh, it's
Of
like, what do
course
the
that's
kids? What do the kids get out of it? Like, you sell 1,000
American.
candy bars, you get like a bracelet that slaps on or something.
No, there were like different tiers. Like people were getting TVs and stuff and trips to Disney World.
No.
Yes,
What? No.
yes,
No, you get like a box of candy if you're like the big school wide winner.
no. People were like, you get like a small TV, or you get like, yeah, that wasn't the prizes for you. I remember
I
Six
don't
Flags was
remember
a big one.
prizes
They
like
would,
that. I would have taken these so much more seriously if I had incentives like that.
yeah, Six Flags was the big one.
Yo, you remember that thing about like this was like actually like a landmark legal case or something where like Pepsi had a commercial with like Pepsi points, and
Hmm.
they threw in a big joke about like a helicopter or a hovercraft being available if you have like 500 million points or something.
Yeah.
and some guy actually collected that, and they were obligated
Yeah, they were
to send him
obligated. Yeah, I remember that. I thought it was a car or something like that. I think it was a
something.
car.
Yeah, it was something outlandish, and they literally had to like change laws because their Pepsi was just like it's called puffery. That was just puffery. So it's
Puffery.
yeah, so it's not illegal solicitation or advertisement or solicitation of a contract. It's puffery.
Puffery.
It's not parody. It's puffery. And
I'm gonna
so
start using that.
and I think they
Puffery.
use that. I think they use the fact that things are puffery to like dismiss when like Sarah Palin it had like her she put out like a promo thing with like gun sites
Hmm.
targets on different senators in different states, and one of them was Kathy Giffords, and like within a few days of her doing that, somebody shot Kathy Giffords in the head, and they're like, well, there was no connection there because it's puffery. Like
Oh my god, ridiculous. I did remember when Sarah Palin got like
when she
ran through.
almost got Kathy, when Sarah Palin almost got Kathy Giffords murdered. Yes,
Yes, that
yeah,
was crazy.
yeah.
But
That time that Sarah Palin almost got Kathy Giffords murdered, where she called for terroristic action. Yeah, that time.
so much is similar to times right now.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, you see all these weird patterns, but they actually call it stochastic terrorism, right?
Mhm.
What was it like the famous king or emperor or whatever? He's like, "Won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest?" And that's just like that's
Oh
a
yeah, you
form of
say it out loud. You say it out
right,
loud, and
right. And this is like, well, this isn't really a solicitation of action because it's
I was
just a
just
joke,
thinking out
guys.
loud.
Can't you take a joke? Yeah, no. When I said murder this person with this very specific method, it was just a joke.
Exactly. You
Don't
guys
you guys
couldn't hear the
recognize
sarcasm in my
jokes?
face.
But yeah, no, a lot of similarities to the current time now. But the reason I brought up your job, going back
Hmm.
all the way, is how leaving school, right? You do print management or whatever. You don't know
Right.
that you're going to be working for Comedy Central or Viacom or his ad agency. You say that you're stumbling into advertisement or that you're falling up, but I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hard work and drive there. So, what is the method, right? I'm a 24-year-old kid, couple years out of college, and I don't know what to do. I see cool Comedy Central, see cool stuff. I want to be involved in a big company. What is the method? What do I do?
Oh man. It's all about. Let's see. I feel I so after being let go several times, there is no real method. I think it's all about you have to just drill and put out as much of your resume as possible, right? You need to cater it so that when somebody interviews you, all because like they're gonna read the resume on you, like they're just gonna read the resume back to you with questions, right? And
Right.
so that's how I thought. Like, I've sat and I've done like resume courses and stuff like that, but if you are able to just kill it in a interview because you know exactly like how to build off of your resume, then like it's just gonna be a cakewalk, and then you're just gonna be able to have like they're gonna want you because you were genuine and you were able to express how you were. Like how you were on the resume is how you were in the interview. So I mentioned this to you before, and I think it's really pivotal for people who are just coming out of college or like looking for jobs or being laid off. Like this is a crazy ass time now. So creating your resume and your cover letter to be catered to what you want to do and how you perceive your work is that's how you sell it as a pitch. And then you go from there, and whatever you want to do. So say if you want to work in a big company, you just apply to every single job they have there, right? Apply to all those jobs. One's gonna maybe hit, but you don't just stop there. I at one point when the most recent time I got laid off, I was putting out 25 resumes a day, And I that was my average. I was like, it doesn't matter as long as I put 25 resumes in, like I'm good. Like I was like, I did my work, you know. Now the talent pool is crazy big. So I mean, I would suggest I always suggest people who ask me more recently is like, you got to just double it. I do 50 a day, you know, and it could just be like a position that sounds like a position you may have be interest in. The thing is, you have to look at if even if people want to call you, like you have to look at it like this, right? There's so many people out here right now that are trying to get jobs, and they're you're not going to be able to get a chance to get a phone interview or like practice on phone interviews as often. So if you're able to put out 50 resume a day, and then at the end of the week maybe you get one back, as long as you get that call, right? You're able to practice on to the next one. You just build that up. You learn how to build up the confidence so that when that job that you actually want, when they after they're done, they're going to offer you that job, and then you're gonna be in the driver's seat at that point because you know it doesn't have to stop here. I can still keep putting. You're already in the groove. You can still just keep churning out resumes because job postings are always going to be up. You go to Indeed,
Right.
you go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I like LinkedIn because it, when you fill out the and put in your resume into it, it's gonna feed you jobs that are more fit to what it's catered to your resume. So I would use that more and then go to like whatever they're giving me on LinkedIn. I would take those job titles and then plug them into Indeed, and then I would just put out more resumes from there. So like you got to
Wow.
play all you listen. I had tactics all like left and right because I needed to get a job. I got this job. So how I ended up here
Mm.
was I was uh all right. I'm gonna tell this story. All right.
Yeah, tell us.
I freaking hate this story. This is the day I lost my dream job. All right. So I was messing around when I was working at Viacom and I put out a resume into WWE, and I didn't expect to get anything back from them. I get a freaking phone call, dude. I get a phone call and they're like, "Can you come in?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." I go to Connecticut. I I crushed the interview. They call me as I'm heading back.
Uh-huh.
They offer me the job, right? I'm already signing papers, right? They're signed sent all this stuff. I filled it out,
Mm-hmm.
sent all that stuff back. So then I'm like 3 weeks out before starting. They gave me start date and everything. 3 weeks out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna tell my current job that I'm done here. I'm like, I'm gonna give these guys a 3 week, you know. And I gave in my 3 weeks notice. I go sit down at my desk. I get a rescinded offer from WWE after I gave in my 3 week notice. And that was I've been wanting to work for WWE since I was freaking 12, dude. So
Damn.
it was like the most ground like I was that's the most depressed I've ever been, I
Oh,
think.
if you were white, you would have sued WWE because you
Well,
probably had a claim.
I didn't because they found some like old tweets that I had, which wasn't even crazy,
Oh.
and that's the reason why they took back the
Uh-huh.
offer. It wasn't anything crazy. Like I told like Kevin Smith I would suck his dick, and they were like, "This is like a hostile
That's kind
text."
of crazy.
Dude, that's not crazy. I
Why would
just
you suck Kevin Smith's dick,
to
though?
get in the movie, man. I was
I mean,
like
I feel like you could
from
just
like
audition for a movie instead.
from like 2011. It was
Oh,
like
yeah.
super old. You think I would remember I had that up?
No.
So, and it's a reason why I slowed down my social media presence like crazy after that. And
Yeah.
because I stopped posting. I'm only more recently started posting on my Instagram, which is who is
Yeah.
Haas. Follow me. And like I've in the past couple of weeks because I have the podcast and I have to like
Right.
create a social media presence now so I can get people to listen. But I was like, I'm not posting anything ever again now, and that was a heartbreaker. And then I ended up like I was just after that happened, they were like, "Oh, we're not gonna hire you back," because I asked for my job back, and they were like, "Nah." And then I was just like, "Damn." So I just started putting resumes out left and right after that, and then somebody who I was working with was like, "Yo, I can get you a job at MLB," and I worked at MLB editing videos, and it was one of the
You're
worst
George
jobs I've
Costanza.
had. Yeah, I'm George Costanza. I got the
No,
calzones.
you are George Costanza. Holy shit.
I got the calzones. They had some good calzones though around that area.
Oh, you still got your company card? Can we go sneak some calzones sometime?
No. But it was while working there, I was just like I wasn't getting hours. I was like, yo, like what like I kept asking, so what happens when baseball stops? And they were just like, oh, we'll work out, we'll figure it out. And I'm just like, oh,
The
that's
okey doke.
yeah, they weren't being upfront with me. They were just like, "Yeah, yeah, you'll have hours, you'll have hours." And then I was just like, "All right, cool." So I went back to the people and I'm like, "Yo, like the rest of my team, I was like, "Yo, you need to like if you're a freelance, you need to look for another job." So everybody else in the team was looking for another job. I looked for another job. Like I was looking for another job while working there. Like
Right.
I would come in,
Smart.
do like overnights, and I would just do it. I would just like put out resumes left and right. And so like I said, like I was just like are back to 25 resumes a day. And then I got hit up by this ad agency and they love me and I like being here now. So
That's great.
yeah.
That's great. I can't
But
imagine just
to kids coming out of college, you guys should definitely even if you think it's something out of your realm, just take it and
yeah,
try it, because if you don't know what you're capable of. Even and also because like I've always taken the route, like when I took the Comedy Central job, it was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna try to go to somewhere else. Like so I would just keep talking to I was talking to everybody at Comedy Central knew me. Like
yeah.
nobody like even the president knew me. And also like the CEO. And so like I would just talk to everybody because at the end of the day it's all about networking. So getting your foot in the door, proving yourself, that's 100% part of the job. Like besides your task, you still need to try to get away. So try to figure out a way to talk to people so that you can get other people's stories. Like, okay, this guy's like, this manager teaches like is this way, and you got to learn how to deal with other people's management styles. You got to learn how to talk to people, and that the thing that college never teaches you is that the world is not fair. You're just like they're just giving you they're giving you skills. And the thing is, it's just like when they give you trigonometry and all these other math terrible courses, you're never going to use most of this stuff.
Unless you choose to.
I
However
mean,
you forge a path, if you can, using what you
I
know.
mean, I think I would say it's a 40% chance that you will go to college, get a degree in the field, in a field that you like, jump into that field and stay in that field for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I
I,
think, yeah, I think 40% of all people, no, yeah, I think 40% of all people, no,
we're
switch it.
totally making all these statistics up,
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
way.
we are with like this, but this is
But
because
if
like I
you're
want to say
listening
four.
and are statistically inclined and can clear that up, please let
No,
us know.
I want to say 4 out of 10 people are people that are using their degree,
Mhm.
right? But 6 out of 10 people are people that don't use their degree. That's what I want to say.
I could agree. I would definitely agree that
Yeah,
more people don't use their degrees. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, no, that's really good advice for not even just like young people trying to start to find their first job or people even transitioning or whatever. You just know that it's a numbers game, it's persistence, it's knowing when you're given the okey doke
Mm-hmm.
and moving forward. I got a lot of problems with the freelance stuff and brand building, and I'm always lagging, but I'm always working. So it's just kind of like it's very difficult. Um, so having conversations like these, because I know it's difficult for me, it's got to be difficult for millions of people. So having conversations like these may help chip away at people's apprehensions for these kind of things. What I want to end this podcast on was kind of like this, in this vein.
Hmm.
Another question we try to ask guests is like, imagine your 16-year-old self, right? Not knowing what you know, but if you could speak to that person and give him just a couple of tidbits of advice, what would you say?
Uh, Try harder in high school. That's it. That's
What
it.
the?
I didn't. I wouldn't. That's about it. Because
What do you mean by try harder?
try harder because I was terrible in high school until maybe until senior year.
Are you talking about grades, socially? What are you talking about?
Oh, everything.
Everything. What are you, a recluse?
No. So like I was one of these kids that I could talk to anybody in school, right?
Okay.
But they were never my friends. Like I'd just be like, "Oh, what's up? What's up?" And they'd be like, "Oh,
Same.
what's up? Hey, how's it going? Hey." And like, you know, and then I was also severely bullied, I would say. Like, but their excuse was always, "Nah, man, we just toughing you up." And I'm just like, "Yeah, okay." Like great for my self-esteem that I have friends that just constantly make fun of me. Like it wasn't anything like stereotypical racial or anything like that. It was actually legit stabs at me, like me as a person. So so it's definitely cut deep, and that
These are
also
the things about you you can't change that I hate.
and then also I never experienced life in high school. So like I would just go home immediately after school
Watch
and
TV.
play video games
Oh
all
my
day,
god.
all night until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up for school. So I deprived a lot of my I deprived so much of growing up outside, uh, just because I just didn't want to deal with other people.
You grew up in the digital age before the digital age.
Yes.
Yeah, you grew up a zillennial or a zennial
Sure.
before. Yeah. So
Label
the
me.
advice would be
I
just
got
try
enough
harder.
labels. Label me.
Label. That's what we do here, dog. We label. We're the label makers. So the advice would be just try harder at high school.
Yeah, 100%. I
What
I
do you
wish
think
I
that would
would have
do
went
for you
to.
now?
I think I would be on a totally different career path. I think like after I got out of high school, I couldn't go to a college that I really wanted, so I had to like settle for a CUNY school, and just like after that, I was just like, you know what? Like going to college is what made me go outside more. Like I'd go to concerts and stuff like that. I didn't go to my first concert until I was 18. So
Um,
yeah.
I went to my first concert when I was like 10. I went with my cousins. It was Boys to Men, and the Next opened for them.
I would love to see Voice to Men live.
I would love to see this 10-year-old fat brown kid watching Boys to Men live. But yeah, man. Yeah, anyway, so thank you again for coming on. The
Yeah.
podcast is called My First Kicks. Haas is really moving and grooving. Um, we have a lot of mutual friends. We see each other at different events and parties and stuff. Well, I mean, I guess pre-quarantine. I don't know how the world's gonna be.
No, man, you're gonna be at the Corona party that I'm throwing, right? Taking pictures.
Yeah, please pay me though.
I'll pay you in vaccines.
This is better than getting nothing. God. But yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. The what? That was a good episode, man. Thank you for coming on.
No, it was my pleasure.
Check out all the stuff. My First Kicks at Who is
Yeah.
Us,
At
and
Who is Haas at My First Kicks Pod. If you have any sneaker stories, email me at myfirstkickspod@gmail.com.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
man.
really he's building it out. So all the feedback, all the info. It's all raw data that he can process.
Yes, sir. Whatever that means. I'll take all the data. Give me all the metadata.
All right, bye.
Thanks for watching. Check us out at returnthejewels.com or on social media at returnthejewels to watch more videos. You can subscribe right there, or you can watch a random video right here. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends.